Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse Frugally, and today I am delighted to be guest hosting the What Would You Make challenge for March. More about that a little later on. Today I am going to be using not only wood products, but I'm also going to be using a number of IOD products. I'm starting with this cute little laundry sign I had gotten at the good table at my dump. It does not go with my laundry room. I actually picked it up for somebody who just did their laundry room, but they had already purchased one. So I decided that I would make it over by painting it first with linen white chalk paint and then adding an IOD paint inlay. So you just go ahead and paint, and while the paint is still wet, you add the paint side down of your transfer, and you can spritz it before you put it down, or you can just spritz it after you put it down and then just sort of blot it with a napkin or a paper towel, and then you're going to wait for it to dry. And then I'm just taking away some of the excess white paint around the edge because I did want to keep some of the green that was already on this. You can dry the paint inlay with your hairdryer or heat gun, or you can just let it dry naturally. And then once it is dry, which usually takes a good 40 minutes or so, you spritz it again and then blot that back and then give it a few, maybe 30, 40 seconds, and then pull up the corner and just slowly. I find that the slower you go, the better the paint inlay. Maybe it's just my imagination, but I think that it just looks nice, and it's awful fun to pull that back and reveal how the paint has inlaid itself into the wet paint. And I do love this beautiful IOD Delft paint inlay, and I have a fair amount of it. I had purchased 2 packets of it for a large dresser that I did. I'll try to remember to link that in the description box if you want to take a look at how you do a large project with paint inlays. And then, of course, you want to get that good and dry before you move forward. And then next I'm going to take out the new IOD spring release mold called Blossoms, and I am going to just press some clay into a few pieces so that I can get a couple of what I will call corner pieces. They're not technically for corners, but I thought that they would make nice corners to put on this little sign. Last year, while I was in Home Depot, I picked up one of their little samples of Behr paint on the counter, and it's just this lovely deep blue. I think it might be called Midnight, but I'm not positive. And I am going to go ahead and use that because it actually matches really well with the blue ink in the IOD inlay. I did glue those on with a quick and thick glue, and now I am taking a white wax, pouncing that down into the details on that mold, and then I'm going to wipe back the excess, giving me some dimension for these corners. Then using the new IOD mold called Brooches, I'm going to make 3 of the same. And then I want to paint these before I put them on the background. It's a little tricky, I find, to paint them once you've already glued them on a surface, if that surface is already painted, or especially if there's a paint inlay. Using another piece of the paint inlay, I cut 2 of them that are identical, and I do the same thing that I did before, this time right on to the center of the clay. And then once those are dry, I'm going to go ahead and peel those back. You do want to let this dry thoroughly before you cover it either with a Mod Podge or a clear coat of some sort. And I adhered those again with some quick and thick glue. I did have a silver sage, pretty greenish colored paint in my stash, and so I did want to go over the frames on the outside edge. Rather than using rub and buff, which I certainly have on many occasions, I thought it would be nice to just kind of pick up some of the green that was on the trim board. And then for the center one, I chose a midnight blue ink and a little butterfly stamp, and I just stamped that right onto the center. And that is all that I did for this sweet little picture. This seems a little bit granny chic to me, a little bit vintage, but it really is lovely for that shabby style, and I think will be lovely for the guest room that we are working on. So I would love to know what you think about item number 1. This collaboration, What Would You Make, is hosted by Brenda at Rustic and Lace and Christine at Divine Design. And I have been chosen as guest host for this month. I appreciate that to both of them. Their channels, as well as the playlist and all the other creators, will be in my description box. That takes me on to this next item that I got at, I believe, the Goodwill bins for $1, although initially it was $24. And it is a solid wood piece, and it has a stand to stand up or a sawtooth hanger to hang up with a little picture frame in the center, and it says, "So Loved." I thought this would be so lovely with this beautiful napkin that reminds me of red transferware. I cut out the center to have the frame pop out, and I just gently, using Mod Podge, adhered that all the way around the edge of the frame. And then it, had a few little wrinkles in it. It wasn't perfect, but I think that that's fine. And once that was done, I did go over the entire top with another coat of Mod Podge to make sure that this would be good and protected and not rip. And then after that was thoroughly dry, took my X-Acto knife and cut the beadboard or barn board sections back out, and also sanded around any edges that needed to be cleaned up. I could have put one of the bird molds in the center of this, and I think that would have been really lovely. But my aunt is turning 90, and we are having a birthday celebration for her, so I thought that I would give this to her, and I thought maybe the brooch in the center might be a little bit more appropriate. So I am doing the same thing I did before. Go ahead and paint it white and attach it to the center, but this time, instead of using an inlay, I am going to go ahead and just find a piece of the IOD transfer called Weilblumen, and that means wildflowers, and there was an absolute perfect piece of a transfer. I was able to cut it into 2 pieces and put it on the center of that brooch. I think the style and color was absolutely perfect for this sweet little frame. Because my clay is not 100% hard, I just go very, very gently, and since I had Mod Podged over it, it just seals it, and that peels right off. And I took out some of the gold rub-and buff to go over the frame a little bit with the foam applicator that comes with the rub-and buff set. And then once I had that gold, I looked at that So Loved, and that is in silver. So I wanted to go ahead and take my gold paint pen and trace over that until I changed that from silver to gold. Just added a little bit more to the corners of the outside of the frame to just kind of highlight that a little bit, a couple more places of touching that up. And this one will be finished. The inspiration for this napkin was this teacup and saucer set that I have. So I made her an arrangement in the teacup and saucer to give her both together for her birthday. So I think that that came out really lovely. And this week, while my car was in the shop, I stopped over to Hobby Lobby next door and found this beautiful set of dinnerware that I absolutely love. And so let me know what you think of this gorgeous transferware pattern. So if you don't have any paint inlays, make sure you look for napkins like this because they are so similar. That takes me on to a little wood frame I have had in my stash for some time. It was painted white and then silver. And so I am just cutting a piece of foam board and painting that white. And then I am going to go ahead while that's drying and paint the frame in that blue. Now that blue, of course, goes so well with the paint inlay that I want to use that paint inlay. I do want to pull some of the silver back at the end because I do like silver, and the dresser that I did has silver knobs on it, so I will make sure to distress back some to pull out some of that silver, but it was a little worse for wear to just keep it as was. And again, on the second coat, I am going to go ahead and leave that a little bit thicker. I'm going to spritz the piece of blue Delft paint inlay, and I'm going to press that into the wet paint. I'm going to dry that with my heat gun, and then once that's fully dry, I'm going to come back as I have with the other and spritz that and then peel that off. And look how beautiful that comes out. It is just such a beautiful inlay, and it really has been just a great deal for me. I've used it in so many projects already. So I'm going to take that same quick and thick glue. I'm going to adhere that little brooch to the center, and then I'm going to go through the rest of the transfer to see if I can find something small enough to go into the center of that to add that little pop of blue in the center. And then once I have that finished, that distressing back to the silver I did off camera, so you don't see that here. I did go over the whole thing with clear coat, and that is all she wrote. So let me know what you think about this and how you like this blue and white Delft. For those of you who actually listen to me while I'm crafting, I have an offer for you. Email me, farmhousefrugally@gmail.com, if you want me to send you some of this inlay. If you send me $5 either on Venmo or Cash App, I will fill a greeting card full, and that way you can practice with it without having to spend $50 a book. Now, don't forget to send me your address. And drop me a comment and let me know if your preference is for the blue and white transfer or the red and white on the napkin. I really have trouble picking between the two. I love this with those dishes. That takes me on to this red clock that I found on the good table at the dump. It is very red. I am really not a fan of the red. Otherwise, it is sweet. It has a little drawer in it, and my husband had to pop out the movement and fix the thing so that it would actually work. But I had an idea for this. I'm not so sure execution was exactly what I had in my head here. Couldn't get the drawer out. It was one of those drawers that's in forever, so I had to paint all around that. I am using this color called Silver Sage, and I am going to go ahead and paint this really good with one good coat, and then I am going to go ahead and cover over that in a little while. But in the meantime, I am going to take a printable that I had gotten for free from the Graphics Fairy, and I am going to put that in Canva. And I'm going to add a clock face numbers over that picture of the bird with the blossoms, and I'm going to decoupage that onto the clock face after I paint the clock face white and adhere that well, sand that back, and then have that movement put back on so I can put that back in the clock. Now, I wanted the pink from the blossoms to pop. I went back and forth as to whether I wanted to use the IOD blossoms clay mold and add some clay as I had with a previous picture, but I opted here to just simply dry brush some of the pink over the green to pull the pink out, but to leave quite a bit of the green showing so that both colors will be visible on this. Then I mixed a dark antiquing wax with some clear wax and rubbed that all over with my wax brush and rubbed it off with a rag just to get that antique feel and to make those colors dull down so they weren't quite so bright. So it's similar to the feel that I had, but I had initially thought I was going to put some of the IOD molds on it. So I think it came out all right, but it is definitely not my favorite of today's. So you'll have to let me know what you think of this free find from the dump. So that both of these pieces went to my daughter's friend, and she absolutely loves it. I think it is a little too maybe cotton candy for me, but you know, I'm really enjoying all these IOD products and just having fun with it. Get to hit like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you have not, and do not forget to check out the playlist and the host channels. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.